Hey folks, welcome back to Geeks. I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Today we are talking about a very serious game. We are talking about a game that is so serious, I have my serious face on. This is a game not for fun. This is a game not for high-flying action. This is a game of deep psychological trauma. This is a game of angst. This is a game of seriousness. This is a game where if you have fun, you're doing it wrong. F that. That's not what we're talking about at all. Today we are talking about Feng Shui 2. Several points I have to make. For some reason, every time I say the name Feng Shui, I feel like I need to go into like this Feng Shui in some sort of like flying kick mode. Also, I understand there are about 50,000 ways of pronouncing F-E-N-G-S-H-U-I, which I just realized could be a Dresden Files title because it's the same number of letters. I don't care how you say it. Honestly, I have a feeling that Robin Laws doesn't give a crap either as he goes through this game. This is Feng Shui 2. The reason it is 2 is because it is a revamp. I'm not even going to say a reboot. It is a revamp of the older setting. I had the older books as well. I was fairly devastated when they were destroyed in a flood at my house. Damn you, Sumpwell. Damn you, Sumpwell. And I was thrilled as heck when I got this as being part of the Ennies judging this year. Thank you very much for those of you who voted for me. A vote for Wiegel's a vote for freedom. So what do you have with Feng Shui 2? This is a Hong Kong action movie role-playing game. I'll let that sink in for a second. I was not into Hong Kong action movies when I was a kid. I was a horror guy. I was just discussing with our producer, Rob. I was into shock theater, for those of you who were in and around Ohio in the late 70s and early 80s. It's The Son of Svengoolie, it's Six Cemetery Lane, it's all sorts of stuff of the same idea. Hosted bad movies. That was my wheelhouse when I was a kid. One of my fondest memories is my father and I sitting and watching Count Yarga on Shock Theater when I was a kid. And it kind of messed me up in the head a little bit. In case you're wondering how I turned out the way I did, it'll all be published in my books in Why I Kill. Anyway, Feng Shui 2, not to get distracted because this is an amazing book. Feng Shui 2 builds on the history that they established in Feng Shui. What is the game about? The game is about Chi warriors. I know there's about a dozen different ways you pronounce the word C-H-I. I'm calling it Chi. My opinion on pronunciation is as long as we all know what we're talking about, then there's no reason to bitch. Brad, that was aimed at you. Had to chew me out for not knowing how to pronounce the name of the deep L, with the deep gnomes when I was a freshman in college, you bastard. Anyway, Feng Shui 2 is you're the Chi warriors. What happens is you are a badass. And I know a lot of games promise you that you're going to be a badass in this game, but you still start out as a level 1 character who can get killed by a house cat. Oh, no, 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 young Bucky. You are an absolute combat monstrosity badass in this game. How badass are you? I'm glad you asked. You are so badass that you can mow through dozens, if not numbers of tens of mooks just at a time. The character archetypes range from the big bruiser, who's the big, strong, tough guy, to the old master, a maverick cop, a reformed killer. All of these are archetypes that you see in action movies at all. You name an action movie, there's an archetype in here for you. The thing that they all have in common is they've encountered strangeness and they've entered the Netherworld. Now, going into the Netherworld, it's this space between worlds where you can wander around and you have a base and there's sources of power there, and you can go back in time and fight in various eras. The eras in which you can play are Mythic China, Imperialist China, modern time, and a future setting. Now, in the future setting, it used to be the cyberpunk dystopia. They got rid of that, and now it's a post-apocalyptic future setting that's replaced the cyberpunk dystopia. I really love the fact that they've connected the continuity to the first game. So for those of us who played the first game, recognize it and go, oh, okay, the Architects of the Flesh are gone, but my God, you've got mutants wandering the Badlands now on souped-up motorcycles. Sounds familiar from something else I just reviewed, doesn't it? So, You play characters from any of those eras, and once you go into the Netherworld, you can go into any of those eras. So you have the excuse for the reformed assassin from the modern era, the reformed gunman, to be fighting evil sorcerer eunuchs in mythic China without blinking an eye. That makes no sense. Why? I love the fact that if in doubt, in terms of like, well, that doesn't make any sense for a setting, or you can't do that, or why didn't his weapons change? This book basically just says, meh, it's cool, do it. So, and that also gives you excuse for a powerful sorcerer from the past to be fighting mutants riding souped up motorcycles in the wastelands of the future. The nominal setting in terms of physically for everything here is in and around Hong Kong and China itself, but I like the fact that this book over the first one says you can play anywhere. Along those lines, one of the cooler features is it gives you the pop-up juncture. Now I should explain what a juncture is. A juncture is one of those principal timelines that I discussed earlier. Mythic China, imperialist China, modern, post-apocalyptic future. It also gives you pop-up junctures, which are smaller ones that open up that you can go into and adventure, and then you probably get out again. In terms of building a TV series or a movie series out of it, these might be 1 or 2 adventures, and then you're back out again. But they're worth looking at just in terms of, if you wanted to, you could expand these into a full juncture if you wanted to. The pop-up junctures they give you are Shanghai in 1937, Barbarian Borderlands, Samurai Dawn if you want to expand your action over to Japan, Feng Musketeers for Dumas-style fencing, Red Mars, and Kaiju Patrol, which are big scary monsters. So you can play a kung fu fighting badass against big scary monsters. Now, along those lines, you'll notice I haven't talked much about the engine yet, because I'm going to have to do that in a second review, because I'm breaking this one up into 2 pieces, because the setting is so much fun. I wanted to give you that first to kind of lure you in. So within each setting, within each of the junctures, there are factions, which you can either be a part of or more likely fight against, because most of them aren't particularly nice. The factions include the Eaters of the Lotus, which are your evil sorceress kung fu eunuch monks from the past. They are the Ascended, who are ancient animal spirits that were turned into humans that sort of are the Illuminati of the modern era. The Guiding Hand, which are kung fu fighting mystics that are trying to manipulate things into their perfect, rigid idea of the future. Then there are 2 of sort of the cybernetic animals of the future themselves. They are the Jammers, and they are the new Simian army, which gives you this whole Battle of the Planet of the Apes feel. If the Battle of the Planet of the Apes, if the apes were cybernetically enhanced with armor and stronger arms and machine guns mounted on their backs. Folks, there's a lot of stuff when I say in this that I'm sure some of you are probably going, really? That's a setting? And some of you are going, I want to play that now. This is more for the latter of you. So my favorite parts of this, especially of the 2 ape-powered ones, are the names. The name of the leaders of the Jammers and the New Simian Army are really great puns if you know what you're looking for. The leader of the Jammers is the Battle Chip Potemkin, and the name of the ape leader of the New Simian Army is Furious George. This book is full of puns like that. There's another faction as well, which are strangely, well, there are 2 more. One of them is the Dragons, which your players are nominally a part of if they want to be. The other one, which is just sort of odd, but once you know what you're doing, once you get into the setting, it makes sense, are the 4 Monarchs, which are these dominant powers of a lost juncture that has been sealed off. We'll talk about how that works in a minute, that have set up shop in the Netherworld. And they are these like 4 ancient powerful beings of mystic might and kung fu badassery that control major sections of the Netherworld that you sometimes have to deal with. All right, so how do these junctures work? Well, how they work is this. We are, what happens is, let's say you go back in time and you fight the bad guys, you fight the Eaters of the Lotus, and something major changes. Then that effect ripples forward in time. Like, if you inadvertently kill an ancestor of yours, instead of going, oh no, paradox, whatever will we do, and shutting down, It just assumes that time is relatively fluid and you're replaced by someone who sounds like you and looks like you, but whose life sucks in the future. So you might have to do something to reestablish your line in the past, like go get frisky with your great to the nth power grandmother at some point. But once you go into the Netherworld, you are no longer affected by temporal shifts. You remember history as it was and as it should be, but this is the history of now. So that's even more reason, role-playing wise, for your characters to interact with each other. The other piece of this is there are major chi sites that control the pathway and the flow of power in the area, and then from that also that controls a lot of the time shifts that occur. So a lot of what you're doing is you're going into the past to stop, say, the battleship Potemkin from going back. He wouldn't do that. To stop Furious George from going back in time with his cyber apes to take over a major chi site and gain power in the ancient past, which means his major simian army is taking over the world, ancient times. There are portals in and out of each one of the junctures that you can go into. So you can never go from one juncture to another. You always go to the Netherworld first and then back out again. This is, like I said, the first half of our review of Feng Shui. The second half will be coming soon where we talk about the mechanics for it. In case you can't tell, I'm really excited about this game. My son Alex got a hold of this and took it into his room for quite a while and is now like, you need to run this for me. I need to study the book again. No, you need to run this for me now. I have to study the book, which means you have to, give me the book, Alex. Stop hitting me. So anyway, Feng Shui 2, or Feng Shui, flying kick to the head 2. Before I leave you, I have to read you some of the titles for the chapters just because they're damn funny. The Getting Started chapter is called Kia. Other options of brilliance include, if you're looking for magic powers, chapter 8, Sorcery. Not just for eunuchs anymore. Thank you. Then the chapter on mutations, DNA equals damn near anything. The chapter title for Kung Fu powers is The Mystical Profundity of Fist and Face. And the Gun Fu powers are guns, 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 and also guns. Folks, I don't know that I could ever run an extended serious campaign with Feng Shui, but I think it would be great for like a month of just butt-kicking badassery. I'll leave you with this image that gives you the idea of just what you can do with Feng Shui. I didn't play this one myself, but I read about it a long time ago. It was, the players were used to sort of D20-ish, 5-foot step and attack of opportunity and all that, and didn't really know how to just unclench and have fun with it. They were trying to get away from some bad guys, and the GM sort of, just to give the players an idea of what you could do, with the player's permission, took over a character for a second, had him fire a machine gun at the front car of this big line of like jammed up cars on a bridge to get away. It blew up, and the subsequent explosion as it went in the air ignited the next car, which blew up, and they drove under this line of like 20 cars that were blowing up, detonating in the air and coming down to get away from behind them. If that level of f*** physics doesn't appeal to you, then might not be the right game for you. But for those of us who just enjoy a little bit of science, woohoo, every once in a while, this is it for you, I promise. For Game Geeks, I'm your host, Kurt Wiegel. Good day and good gaming.